Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hi guys, my name is Maruti and I'm back with a new topic, a new chapter on Azure AI Foundry. I hope you have checked my previous videos and you already know the basics of what is Azure AI Foundry portal and what kind of things we can do it with that. Today, we are going to talk about another part of that, and actually this is actually a specific development tool. So today's video is actually perfect for those who are trying to explore large language models and who are actually trying to customize and build a customized applications using a large language models. The name of the topic, without waiting for much time, let me introduce the name of the topic, which is prompt flow. I'm sure if you are familiar with Azure AI services, this is one of the terms which maybe you have heard of. Today, we are going to learn it. So I'm going to create prompt flow today. I'm going to customize prompt flow with my kind of a logical code, basically in Python, and then we are going to check whether it's working or not. Also, this is going to be something which we will do step by step. So let's get started. Before we start a lab, we need to understand what is a prompt flow. The definition says that prompt flow is a development tool which is designed to streamline the entire development cycle of AI applications powered by large language models. And this prompt flow development tool is a part of your Azure AI Foundry portal. It's one of the elements inside that. So as I promise you, every day we are going to see different parts of Azure AI Foundry portal. So this is what we are going to learn today. Now with prompt flow, you will be able to create executable flows and you can link large language models with them. You can configure prompts. You have Python tools to visualize graph where you can actually visualize some kind of a step-by-step workflow. And that's the reason actually the name prompt flow is coming from combination of prompt and workflow. You can also debug, you can share and iterate your flows with ease through team collaboration possible. You can create prompt variants and evaluate their performance through large-scale testing. And you can also deploy a real-time endpoint that unlocks the full power of large language models for your application. Once that real-time endpoint is deployed, you can actually incorporate that real-time endpoint API into your existing applications which you are developing. So starting from large language model customization, deployment, and adding your own customized flow on that to deploying an application, this is actually something which is going to provide end-to-end solution for you. Let's get started with this. But before that, let's understand what exactly we are going to do today. Because this is the first time we are using prompt flow in our channel, I am trying my best to make sure that this particular lab, this particular demo is going to be as simple as possible. Don't worry, I'm not going to create very complex Python logic inside this. That is something which we'll do on the coming videos. But right now, if you ask me what exactly I'm going to do today, I am going to use prompt flow for named entity recognition. Now, let me explain first. Whenever you have a text, maybe you're providing a prompt or few lines of paragraphs also in that. And if you're doing this thing, there are a couple of name entities which you can extract from that. These name entities can be a person, some kind of brand, some kind of places, or maybe some kind of a job role. In our case, we are going to take an example of a job role. Like you can see, I have a prompt here in which we are saying some text. In a preparation for the new semester, the teacher is developing a syllabus. Now in this case, which job role is involved in this text? The answer is teacher. Now same like we can provide different prompts, and I want that my model is actually going to be capable to extract the name entity recognition from that. And this is what exactly we are going to customize. If you are thinking that how exactly we will do this thing, well, name entity recognition is a concept which can be done with any kind of language models. We are going to apply this kind of a flow logic. You can see we have 4 sections here. Inputs, then your LLM tool, which is actually going to associate your large language model with that. Then you have Python tool, which allowing you to write your own customized code on top of it. And then you have outputs, which is basically allowing you to configure what kind of output you're looking for. In my case, in inputs, I'm going to provide 2 different inputs. First one is entity type, and the second one is that text, that prompt, which I'm going to provide inside that. Now, obviously, this entity type and the text will be my 2 input parameters, which will be going to my LLM tool, where we are going to take care of name entity recognition in that. We will use GPT 35 Turbo in this case. So we are going to use GPT-35 Turbo model, and obviously that is going to be provided with the help of Azure OpenAI connection. So basically this image is showing you the architecture of this particular sample which we are going to do. After that, we have Python tool in which we can write some Python code, which is basically going to focus on cleansing of my particular entities. And then once the cleansing is done with the help of Python logic, we will extract the output from this particular one, and that will be nothing but the name entity, which is connected with the text input which we have provided. Don't worry, it's going to be easy when we do this thing step by step. As you all know, I always recommend this, that you should also try this lab by yourself, and you should have your Azure AI subscription where you can work with this. So I hope you have it. Without wasting time, let's get started. As you can see right now, I am in my ai.azure.com, which is my Azure AI Foundry portal. In this portal, I have successfully logged in with my account. So all those things, I don't need to waste my time in that. The first thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project. Now you already know the concepts of AI Hub, AI projects which are available inside Azure AI Foundry. If you don't know, I strongly recommend you to check out this video, and that's going to give you a brief description of that. Right now, I'm assuming you already know this. I'm going to create a project which is Maruti_NER LLM. So I'm going to do name entity recognition using LLM. That's what I'm giving. Some unique number is associated with that, which is fine. In the customize section, I can customize my resource group name, my hub name. So in hub name also, I'm going to give Maruti Hub for NER. So that is what the name which I'm giving. Location will be East US 2. I think let me change it to East US. And then everything else is fine. I'm going to click on next and create. Now this process is usually going to take 5 minutes because it's going to create a couple of background services, and these all services will be created in your Azure portal. So if you go to portal.azure.com, this is a place where you'll be able to see all the underlying resources which are getting created with this. As of now, I'll just wait for this process to complete. But let me remind you, while you're waiting for this process to complete, why don't you just subscribe to our channel? If you're liking this video, hit the like button. And if you are willing to learn this kind of interesting topics, you can also comment in that particular comment box that what kind of AI related or Azure cloud related topics you are interested in. I'll wait for your comments, and I think with this project creation is done. This is loading my page, and yes, I think my project is loaded. The name which I've given is visible, my endpoint and keys are visible. Project creation is successful. Now, I strongly advise at this point that you go to portal.azure.com and just check whether your resources are successfully created or not. In my case, I'm very sure it's created because my subscription and all the privileges I have. So I'm okay with that. The next thing which we are going to do is we are going to use this project now. In the left side section where we have my assets, we have models plus endpoints. Now, obviously, right now we do not have any models and endpoints available here. The first thing which we are going to do is we are going to focus on a particular model inside our model catalog, and we will deploy that model so that we can use it. So let me click on model catalog. I am going to deploy one of the specific GPT model, which is GPT-35 Turbo. So I'm going to search for GPT-35, and I think from the list of the models, which are so many, I'm getting GPT-35 Turbo 16K. This is a perfect model for my today's sample. So I'm going to start with this. Now, maybe some of you are going to ask me a question, why you're not using GPT-4? It is still available. Well, the answer is costing. Sometimes we just need a small amount of work, and for that, we do not want a latest version of GPT models. So you focus on cost, you focus on performance, you focused on other aspects of your model usage. It's not always like you're always going to go with the best model. Sometimes if you have ordinary work, or you have some kind of a simple prompting with that, you can use any model with that. I'm using this one, GPT-35 Turbo 16K. There is a deploy button. I'll click on deploy. In the customization options of this model, I think the deployment name is fine, but in this section, we will reduce the tokens per minute to only 5,000. Remember guys, by default is actually 120,000. We do not want that many tokens per minute for this kind of a lab. I request you, if you are also doing this kind of a model deployment, this is going to impact on your cost. Okay, so make sure that you are going to reduce your tokens per minute rate limit. Okay, enable dynamic quota is also something which I'm disabling. So at any point of time, dynamically it's not going to increase my quota, and I'm just going to click on deploy. Now, whenever you're done with this, this is going to show you that your model is successfully deployed. Now, there are two ways to check this model deployment. The first thing is you can go into open in playground and you can check whether this model is working fine with the chat playground or not. Now, because this is a chat specific GPT model, I'll click on open in playground. Initially, in this particular chat playground, we are just going to check whether this is working or not. So we have an system message available here is saying that you are an AI assistant that helps people to find information. Now, let me ask a question here that what can you do? So I'm asking this question to this particular chatbot. What can you do? And maybe because it's an AI assistant, it's going to ask me, okay, it's going to show me that I can assist you in finding information in a wide range of topics. Some of the things I can do include is this. They're giving me 6-7 options in that. And yes, this is what this AI assistant can do. Now, I'm not really interested in trying different prompts right now because, as I said, our goal is to use prompt flow for customization. So that's what exactly we're going to do. Also, I'm going to show you that when you have created your deployed model, we just deployed this model before 1 minute maybe. There are chances that your deployed model is not going to be allowing you to connect with the prompt flow immediately. So it can take 5 to 10 minutes to configure that. Now, let me show you exactly what happens if you try to connect before this 10 minutes time. Let me go back to the left side section where we have prompt flow. You can see this is a prompt flow icon. I'm going to the prompt flow. So basically we have created the AI project. We have created our model deployment also. So GPT model is also deployed. Now we are going into the prompt flow, and then here I do not have any particular prompt flow right now. So I'm going to create a new one. When I click on create, there are plenty of options which are available. So you can create a standard flow, you can create a chat flow, you can create an evaluation flow also. Now, what are the types of these three things? We'll see that thing. Basically, this is explaining here that standard flow are going to harness the power of LLM, where customized Python code and more to craft your tailored prompt flow is going to be available. You can test the flow using custom data set also, and seamlessly you can deploy as an endpoint for an easy integration of your application. This is what we are going to use today. The other flows we will try later on in some other labs and videos. Also, there is an explore gallery option here. We have a gallery where there are so many samples which they have given. These samples are actually going to load a lot many complex prompt flows with that. So I suggest you first you learn the basics and then only try this complex prompt flows. Otherwise, you're stuck with the issues in that. Let's start with the standard flow, and I'm going to click on create. It's asking me one option here. It's asking me folder name. Now remember this, they're going to create a new flow, and they are saying the flow code files are stored in a specific folder within your workspace file share storage. Now you know that there is a storage account which got created with our AI project, and this storage account is having a file share for this particular workspace. This folder name can be customized according to your preferences. So whatever name you're giving here is going to be created in this location. So basically in your prompt flow folder, it's going to create this kind of a folder name in which your actually flow data is going to be stored. Because I'm going to do name entity recognition, I'm going to give a name of my folder entity recognition, and then I'm going to click on create. But let me tell you, if my deployment of the model is not ready right now, this is going to show me an error. So let me click on create. Let's see if it is working or not. This is a very common issue. If the deployment is done recently, it won't work. You have to wait for some time, and then only you'll be able to create a new flow. So it's going to create a folder, but the deployment of the prompt flow will not be successful. Now, if you are facing this issue, just wait for some time and retry after 10 minutes. It will work fine. Let me see what will happen to my prompt flow. You can see I got an error, and this is a very common error which is clearly telling you the same thing what I was telling you. So it's saying that, okay, you have a cloud dependency permission, this resource was recently created, wait for 10 minutes for role assignment to propagate. So basically what they are trying to explain is, when you have created this particular resource, then some kind of a role assignment has to be working in the background, because right now your AI project and the prompt flow is going to use that storage account which you have created in the Azure portal. This particular role assignment is actually going to take 10 minutes of time, and that's the reason, even though your model deployment is done, your project is created, I strongly advise you, or they also request you, that you wait for 10 minutes and then you try. So this is the time I'm going to pause this video. I will come back after a few minutes and then I'll try to do the same thing again, and I think that time it will work. So let's check that after a few minutes. Okay, I have waited for some time. Now it's the time I'm going to close this pop-up which was showing error. I'll again try to create a standard flow, and this time I'll give a name, entity recognition, and I'll try to click on create. It's showing me the folder name already exists because, yeah, they have already created a folder. So let me put 1 at the end of this, and I'll try to click on create once again. This time it worked fine because I waited for 10 minutes. Now this is a key right now. Hopefully Microsoft will reduce this time very soon, but as of now it is like this. My new project, Entity Recognition 1, is actually successfully created. It's loading the content of that, and this user interface is very important for you to understand. That is the reason we are doing a very hello world kind of a sample right now. So it's a very simple prompt flow which we are creating, because right now I want you to understand this user interface here. Now this development environment is having 4 sections first. Inputs, which is here. Outputs, which is at the bottom. Then we have something which is echo, which is this one. This is actually that particular node which is helping you to write a Python code inside that. And if I scroll down, there is something called joke, which is as of now just a simple joke kind of an element which is here. But this is actually my LLM element. So this is the one which is going to connect with my LLM. Now, as of now, this graph which they are showing you, if you try to compare this with the previous slide which I have shown you, it's very simple graph which they have created. Now I do not want one input, I want multiple inputs actually. And if you see right now in the input section, we have only one input, which is topic. Now this is a simple hello world kind of a sample. So let's try to create some initial input configuration first. So in my input, I do not want topic. Instead of this, I'm going to specify entity type. And this entity type is of type string, and we are going to specify this entity type is actually job title. I'm going to add one more input, because with entity type job title, which I want to extract, I want to put some kind of a text also. So this is going to be text, and I want to provide some kind of a text in the input right now, which is this. I'm just specifying the software engineer is working on a new update for the application. Basically, here the job title is actually software engineer, which is my name entity, which I want to extract from that. Okay. That is fine. Output we do not want to configure right now. Input configuration is fine. We have 2 inputs, entity type and text. So we are good with this. Now after this, let's directly configure our LLM, because this is a joke which is an LLM right now. I do not like this name. So I'm going to rename this. I do not want joke. I want the name of my LLM is going to be NER, which is name entity recognition underscore LLM. This is going to be the name of my LLM. So NER LLM is actually something which is here. So LLM node name is what we have renamed right now. Exactly below that, we have a connection section. In the connection, I have my connection. This is a Azure OpenAI service connection, which is already visible in my connections if I go into my management center. But I have this connection. This is the only connection which I have. So I'm going to choose it. And then it's asking me what kind of API you want. Now we can have chat API, we can have completion API. I'm going with chat. What kind of a deployment name you want to choose here. Now obviously we have one deployment, which is GPT 35 Turbo 16K. So I'm choosing that. Temperature is fine, 1. Everything else is fine. I do not want to change anything, but this is a connection which is helping me to connect with my Azure OpenAI service. Now, if you try to recall the structure which I have shown you, we have configured input with the 2 different inputs inside that. We are configuring the LLM tool node, which is NER LLM, which right now I'm doing actually. And we have specified the API connection with the help of Azure OpenAI connection. So these things are actually something which we have done. Now, obviously, I have to configure my LLM tool and my Python tool for cleansing, and that's what we are going to do next. This particular LLM tool is actually right now having a simple joke kind of a logic. I do not want this, so I'm just going to get rid of this. Instead of this, I have this prompt available with me, and if you want this prompt, you can just find the link in the description. You will find a step-by-step lab which is available in our Git repository, and using that one, you will be able to follow all the steps. So this is my prompt which I'm providing here. Basically, for a system, we are specifying your task is to find entities of a certain type of from the given text content. If there are multiple entities, please return them all with the comma separated, like entity 1, entity 2, entity 3. And you should only return the entity list, nothing else. So the output of this is going to be only entity list, nothing else, which we are specifying. If there is no such entity, please return none. And then in the user section, we are specifying entity type and the text content. So this is what user is going to provide as an input, and the answer is going to be an entity format. This is like a one-shot learning which we are providing in the user section, and this is my system message which I have customized this. Now, if you already understood how you are going to use ChatGPT models with your chat prompts and the system message in my previous video, I hope you're able to understand what I'm trying to do in my LLM configuration. Once this is done, it's the time we have to just click on start the compute session. Now you can see on the right top corner, we have this button which is start the compute session. So I'm going to click on save. I'm going to click on start the compute session, which is actually going to start a serverless compute associations with this. So it's going to take some time. This can also take around 4 to 5 minutes, depends upon the resources which are available in your subscription. So I just clicked on this. Once this is showing me green tick here that yes, compute session is started, then I'm going to do the next step in this. Okay, my compute session is running right now. It's showing me a green tick here. I waited for a few minutes and it got configured. Now it's the time we have to click on this next step, which is validate and parse input. Now, as per this configuration which we have done for the system and user message, we need to have two different inputs associated with that, while the default one is showing me only one. So let me click on validate and parse input. This will actually check the configuration which you have done inside this box. So remember, this is a very important button. If this cannot validate and parse properly, then it won't work further. So let me click on this and let me see if I'm facing any issues and errors in that. No, it's all good for me. It's showing me green tick, validation and parsing input completed successfully. I have two different inputs, entity type and text. We know that thing. I have to connect this. Now, even if you see right now, we are not able to see any values here. And because of this, there is no input linked to NER now. So this is something which we have to do. I'm going to specify that the entity type is going to connect with inputs entity type, which is my value associated with that. And then the text is something which is going to be my inputs text. So these are the three different parameters which we have. Two from input, one is the output. We are specifying and linking this thing. And once you link this, then only this is showing you the colored blue color arrow here, that now your inputs are successfully connected with your NER LLM. This is how this particular prompt flow, or I can say prompt-based workflow, is going to look like. Now, we are good up to this point. We are 50% done with this logic. Let's go to the next one, which is allowing you to write a Python code in that, which is eco. Let me scroll a little up. This is my eco. Now, I do not like this name eco, so I am going to change this name to cleansing, because this is basically going to help me to cleansing of this particular prompt. Let me get rid of this default content which is there. I do not want this Python code. Instead of this, I have my Python code, which I'm going to use here. Yes, I have copy pasted my Python code. Now, as you can see here, I'm first trying to import typing and prompt flow with the help of this particular line. So if you see, I'm importing list and this particular import tool. So basically prompt flow is that tool and typing is nothing but a list kind of a thing. So these are the Python packages which we are trying to import here. Then we have @tool, which is actually going to help me to declare the logic for this tool, in which we have a function called cleansing. This cleansing function is going to take my entities with the string format, with maybe list of the entities can be there, because as we discussed, it can have multiple entities also inside that. And then it's going to split, it's going to remove the leading and trailing spaces, tabs, dots, whatever is there with that. It's going to take care of that thing, and that is what this cleansing logic is doing. Now, obviously, I did not need to explain this 2-3 lines of code. It's simple logic, which is dividing that text into parts and then cleansing that and then creating a separate entity part from that. This is all good. This is simple logic of Python. The good thing is this section is allowing you to write whichever Python logic you want. So no restrictions. You can put whatever logical code inside that. If you're good in Python, you can implement this as you want. It's totally customizable. If this is done, again, let me click on validate and parse input, because you can see cleansing is now not having any connection with the output in the right side part. Let me link that. So I'm going to specify validate and parse input for this one. So first we are configuring input. How exactly cleansing will get the input? So it's going to get the input from NER LLM. Let me create some space here. So these two parts we have to connect first, and then output of cleansing will be given separately. It's asking me validation and passing input completed successfully. This entity string are going to be coming from where? I am going to say this entity strings are going to be coming from NER LLM output. So basically the output of NER LLM will be provided into cleansing as an input, and that's how the workflows works. So this is going to be like output of NER LLM will be provided as input into cleansing. And then once you're done with all this, the only last and final part which is now remaining is this output section. Now this output section is having some dummy joke kind of output inside that. We do not want that. So I'm specifying the name of this is going to be entities. So these are going to be the list of the entities, or maybe one single entity inside that. And the value of that is going to be coming from cleansing output. And when we do this thing, this is how the workflow should look like. Now, because of the order the output is showing on the top, I think the correct order of this is output should be at the bottom. So this is my correct flow. Inputs, then NER LLM, name entity recognition, and then cleansing, and then we have outputs, which we have just now configured. If you understood this flow, it's a very simple prompt flow which we have created. It can be as complex as you want. And this logic also can be anything you want. But yes, because we are first time learning prompt flow, we have just done this thing this way. Now, this is a time we have to check whether these things are working or not. So I'm going to click on run. This run is going to run my prompt flow. If everything is fine, it's going to execute this, and it's going to show me proper output and logs connected with this. Let's wait for some time. On the top, it's showing me running, so I have to wait for some time. It's going to take some time to run this. Yes, it's showing me variant 0 run completed, which means my first execution of this prompt flow is successfully executed. In this particular prompt flow graph also, you can see it's showing me green ticks with the completed, which means that it's successfully done. Now, somewhere when you run this thing, if you're getting some errors or some validations or some issues, instead of green tick, you're getting some yellow warning mark or some red cross on that, then it means your logic or certain things are not proper in those nodes. Right now, I'm just going to scroll down to this left side section. Forgive me, this is a little tricky. I'm not very good with this scroll. It's super tiny. Yeah, now it's showing me that this input you have provided, entity type, job title, and the software engineer kind of a thing. In the output, is going to show me that they have executed this with completion tokens 2, and the output is software engineer. Basically, this is the entity which they have extracted. If I want to see the trace information or the logs associated with this, those things will also be visible here. Now let's say I want to change this input slightly and I want to add more than one entities inside that. So let's say I'm going to say the software engineer is working on the new update for the application, and Coach Maruti is helping him learning new concepts. Now remember, software engineer and coach, both are actually my entities which are there. Now this is the text which I'm providing here. Let me click on save. Let me click on run. Now let's see, this time it is able to find two different entities or not. Now remember, this is all based on your logic and the customization which you're doing. Again, it's showing me variant 0 run completed. So this run is also successfully executed. I'll scroll down, and this time if I check the input, it's showing me that this input is actually here. And then if I click on the output, it's showing me that output is having two entities, software engineer and coach. So basically they have taken the input and they understood that this is actually the entity which we are trying to associate here as a job title. Now, this is really amazing tool. If you just use your basic Python logic, you will really enjoy this thing. I hope you understood this particular lab and you like it. If you like it, subscribe to our channel, like this video. Because we have started a new channel, this is really important for us. Also, I want to make one more request. If you like this kind of videos and if your friends and colleagues are also interested in learning Azure Cloud and AI related certification learnings, you can share this particular channel with them. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Happy learning.